I'll stay on camera just to avoid having Elias's face come up. But
Yeah, that'd be some
I'll
shock.
switch my
That'd be
audio off.
a very quick hair regrowth.
Yeah.
Marvelous. Quick check, Bash. Will we see names come up here of people attending? No, I can't hear you now. You did that efficient thing where you turned your audio off.
Oh, sorry. Um, and in the participant section, you'll see people trickling in. So we've already
Oh,
got a couple of people in.
I haven't got the button pressed. There we go. Hello, folks. Oh, cool. Andre, Anne-Marie, hello, and Nicole. Well, we'll just give it a few minutes, folks, and let people join, and then I'll start to do my finely tuned intro, which is much improved from last week, I assured Bash. And you write it down, it feels like 2 minutes worth, and suddenly it's twice that. So, and no singing. He told me not to do any singing this week.
Not this time. Not this time.
Okay, so we'll give it a minute, and then I'll come back to you. Maybe Ben could provide the singing this week. We actually didn't ask him to do that, did we?
Thank goodness.
Perhaps a bit of keyboards might be a bit more aligned to yourself. Yeah.
Guitar is my instrument, but
Is that right?
yeah,
All right. Classic or electric?
both. Not classic, acoustic and electric.
Acoustic. Acoustic. That's the one. That's what I meant to do. All right. Both. Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, you might be touring soon. Yeah. That one didn't come out at the Nice Roadshow.
It did in Melbourne, actually.
It did.
It
All
did,
right.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, we missed a trick here. We could have had you doing the intro, couldn't we?
Next year.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll hold you to that. Okay,
Thank you,
folks.
Nicole.
Oh, sorry.
Nicole just posted that I have a great voice and play guitar really well. Appreciate that, Nicole.
Oh, you got a fan club. Okay. Hey, Sunil. Nice to see you. Okay, folks, we'll chip into it because this probably won't be the most important part of the event. But I just wanted to say I was invited. I was lucky enough to be invited to the NICE Roadshow a couple of weeks ago, and we saw some amazing stuff there. So when CCNNZ came along and said, "Rich, will you host this webinar for us?" I was rather chuffed and yeah, very pleased to do so. So here we are. Um, Now, what I really saw and enjoyed about the show was Nice's change in a kind of change in direction. I have to be frank about it. I'm seeing new things come about from Nice, which is really quite refreshing. There's been an acquisition of an organization called Cognigy, which Ben's going to talk us through a little later on, and what benefits that brings to Nice customers and what Nice is going to bring to Cognigy customers. They're already in partnership. We know that, but let's have a look at how that's going to affect closely. It's not been an insignificant amount of cash spent on that. So it really is the future of Nice is very much tied up in it. It's not done and dusted yet, is it, Ben? But we're close.
Still working. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we expect it will be done and dusted probably by the end of this month, but just going through all of the fun regulatory compliance processes that occur when you acquire a company. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. So I have to say there was some drama around the nice day. It was most enjoyable. Most people were dressed up, so that was exciting. And there was a huge meat raffle, and I've never seen such a huge plate of meat being given away. And how that person got it home, I've no idea. But it was marvelous and very entertaining. And I mean, there's a couple of key things about it, but I enjoyed the customer stories. 2 Degrees were there. They were telling us how well things had gone with them, and particularly the demonstration of the live AI agent setup, which is not something I've seen before and quite brave for a vendor to do. in front of about 300 people or so. I'm not sure how many attended. There was quite a lot. It was a full room, to be fair, and a lot of critical eyes. And so for that to go well is testament to how good the product is, really, or how well Ben practiced. So talking of Ben, here's an introduction. Now Ben's got his own bio he sent me, but I haven't got it off by heart, so I'm going to read the highlights. Ben brings a deep expertise across contact centers, financial services, retail, utilities, and telecoms, with a career grounded in analytics, fraud detection, machine learning. All right, this is good, and conversational AI. So we're looking forward to that because there's a lot around AI today, as you might expect. Today, he's leading the digital analytics and AI practice for NICE, and his title is CX Automation. He's Manager CX Automation at AI at NICE. And in his role, Ben's responsible for driving customer and partner education, platform adoption, and business growth, collaborating closely with some of New Zealand's closest partners, iconic brands, and customers, and is developing a strong partner ecosystem. I have to say that from an independent perspective, I've seen that more and more over the last couple of years. So congratulations to NICE for doing a good job with growing their base and their partner base in New Zealand. Ben lives by the guiding principle that shapes both his life and his work. I like this one. Seek first to understand, and then you'll be understood. And so we'll go from there first, I think. And so Ben, tell us a bit more about that. How do you bring that into your day-to-day work practices?
Yeah, it's a great question, and thanks for giving me a softball to start off with, Richard. The concept of seeking first to understand and then being understood really talks to me about, within the business world, is aligning a solution to an actual problem or an opportunity. And if we don't know what a customer is trying to achieve or the problems that they're experiencing, the individual nuances related to that industry or their particular place within an industry, we see a lot of vendors out in the market that will come with a cookie cutter type approach or Lego blocks type approach, and say, listen, this is how we do it, and it'll solve your problem, without ever really understanding what the problem or the opportunity space actually is. So for me, being able to really get close to customers and our partners, and work with them to really kind of, from first principles, understand what is it that we're trying to achieve here, or what is it that the customer is trying to achieve, then allows us to be quite specific and targeted with how we solve that. And some of that might be software, of course. From our perspective, we're a software company, so we've got software to solve problems. But some of it may be unrelated to software, or actually unrelated to the contact center or customer service more broadly. It may be a process change. It may be a cultural change. It may be a people enablement type of change. But unless we understand what that problem or opportunity space looks like, if we don't seek to understand that, then whatever we suggest, it kind of will fall on deaf ears, or it won't solve the problem. And so we won't be understood, and we kind of reach this kind of impasse. So really, it's the approach that I try to take as much as possible.
Yeah, I was reading something the other day on LinkedIn, and it was about AI, and I told the story a little bit last week, but it's really relevant for this conversation as well. And an organization was using analytical AI to look over their previous 6 months call recordings and trying to analyze why their best salespeople were their best and why the others weren't quite keeping up. And one of the key metrics, one of the very, very first things that they found out, was that they weren't training people properly, and that their most successful people did not talk product until about 83% of the way through a conversation. And anybody who brought the conversation product up before then had got a sort of preset mind that they knew the solution already. And I don't believe you can do that without understanding your customer's direction, what their 2, 3, 5 year plan is, and what changes there. You've got to spend time with people. And I personally, I enjoy that, and I agree with you completely.
Agreed.
Yeah. Now I think you've got a little bit of something visual to share with us, haven't you?
I do. I thought for those that that weren't able to make it to interactions, that it might be a good opportunity to, I guess, sort of reset maybe some of the understandings or expectations around NICE and what our position in the market is. We of course we can talk about Cognigy and kind of how that's changing the landscape. But, NICE has been in market for, 30 years. Most organizations still know us as a recording company, and kind of aren't necessarily considering us as part of the CX world in this region. And so, a big part of my job is trying to change that mindset. And the way that, we had a new CEO, Scott Russell, started at the start of this year. So he's been in the job now for about 9 months, and he's really injected a lot of energy into the way that NICE talks about itself and the way that we talk about the problems that we're trying to solve. And I thought what I'd do is just do a little bit of that positioning up front, to maybe set the scene for the conversation post that. So I'll jump right in about 5 minutes or so, and then we can kick off a conversation.
If I can just interrupt, I have forgotten something just slightly. And
Sure.
it was, we are collecting questions, folks. So pop questions in the webinar chat and we'll address those as we go through. Thank you.
Happy to. Yes, absolutely happy to. So at NICE, we've always kind of been really passionate about blending that human connection with technology, right? And trying to solve problems leveraging both sides of the equation. And, we're living in quite extraordinary times, since 2022, when ChatGPT first came onto the scene. It's changed the way that we're able to connect. We're not just connecting faster, we're connecting deeper, we're solving problems. But really what we're looking at is how it's transformed human engagement. And we know that technology is moving quite fast. But when we look at customer service today, it's still a space that's defined by technology and human connections, but we've got inadequate and siloed solutions, right, that are limiting that pathway forward. So while we are making a lot of progress and we're seeing a lot of investment, many organizations are still very unsure and uncertain of how best to leverage AI and the innovation that comes along with it to actually transform those experiences. And, I think as consumers, we don't just want experiences that are functional. We actually are looking for experiences that are memorable, being able to allow us to connect with the brands that we work with, and buy from and deal with every day. And we really need that to be underpinned by advanced technology that gets things done, but in a way that feels human. We hear more and more from customers that, shouldn't you know all of this about me? Don't you already know what I'm calling about? Shouldn't you be able to predict what my problems are? Right? That's the memorable experience, right, that we're looking for. And we need advanced technology to be able to do that. So, from my perspective, that opportunity is really quite clear. And we've come a really long way, but I believe it can be much better. And so we kind of have to revisit those assumptions and reimagine what's possible. I'm going to talk about a couple of ways that we might reimagine that. So many customers feel that they need to speak with a human in order to get personal, empathetic experience. But what if, and there's going to be a number of what ifs, what if every interaction felt human, even if it was delivered by AI? What if we could actually use all of that data that we have about our customers? We have so much of it, we struggle to put it to effective use. So what if our customers didn't have to find service and it actually found them? Take it a step further. What if we could resolve inquiries or issues before customers even had a problem or even knew they had a problem? Every time a customer reaches out and connects, it's an opportunity for us, right, to inform, to solve, to serve. But what if we just didn't focus on fulfilling requests or solving problems? What if we actually use those opportunities to create new business value or growth opportunities that go beyond what was asked in that initial intent? We all know, working in the contact center customer service space, that great customer service requires, efficient, cost-effective operations that deliver at scale, and delight customers, right? They're kind of the key things that we're trying to achieve. But, why can't we do both, right? Why can't we have brilliant customer experiences in a way that's more automated and efficient than ever before? So from our perspective, it's really not just time to improve experience with AI. We're talking about this kind of evolution. I think it's really time we start thinking about this as a reinvention of experience. And so that's what we talk about when we think about this concept of creating a nice world. This is really the brainchild of Scott Russell, who's come in about how do we create a world where all of these things are possible. And that world is the platform. It's NICE CX1 Mpower, which we'll talk a little bit about. So we want to be the pioneers in this space. We want every interaction to feel human. We want every interaction to create value, every customer journey to be seamless, smart, personal. We want to use AI to turn knowledge into action, to fuse automation and human empathy together, and really to deliver impactful experiences that turn your business into a growth engine, right? And a source of joy for customers, and to really build that ongoing reputation. This nice world that we're talking about wanting to pioneer is based on this groundbreaking AI, right? Our CX1 is an AI platform for customer service. We don't talk about ourselves as a contact center platform. That is part of what it does, but really moving beyond traditional barriers. So let me talk you through a couple of examples. So when it comes to the workforce, we want to be able to power up people so they know what to say, when to say it, having the right insight at the right time, and providing instant context that makes interactions more personal, more knowledgeable, more empathetic. When it comes to customer service automation, tasks that we deal with on a day-to-day basis that our agents are spending a lot of time doing in our middle and back office, sort of dealing with edge cases, we want to turn that into sub-second tasks, right? Where we actually cut workflows across front, middle, and back office. We can deploy them in record time. Richard, you talked about building an AI agent in that demo live. That's exactly what we're talking about, is we can uncover opportunities for automation, and we can actually design, build, and operate them within the platform within minutes, right? Hours to production, right? Rather than weeks or months. When it comes to personalized self-service options, right? We need accuracy and we need scale, and it needs to feel like one single seamless conversation. That's really the target. Even if you message on WhatsApp and then Facebook and then you call and email and whichever channels that you choose to engage with, it should feel like one seamless conversation with a single entity. And for customers, it really, for agents and humans, they need to be able to interoperate. They need to be able to pass tasks back and forth. And from a customer, it needs to feel like that real, transparent single pane of glass from an interaction perspective. So as a platform, we're talking about this as an AI platform, self-learning, it's unified, all of your data is in the one place, your ability to do channel engagement, routing, quality management, analytics, insights, automation, all in one place. And its ability to kind of adapt and grow and scale and flex to meet the needs of our customers. So I guess to kind of summarize that, right, orchestrating interactions is a key part of any customer service business. Being able to then automate workflows and augment that workforce is really what our message is to the market. Is we're bringing that vision to life of a nice world that kind of cuts across all of these different concepts. And that's what CX1 Mpower is. For those that have been around and maybe been NICE customers for a little bit, or considering that, we actually re-architected the platform to be completely microservices based. All that to say that it is extremely flexible, it grows, it's scalable, and it allows us to provide more purpose-built AI, built on an open cloud structure, being able to connect into the ecosystem of an organization, and be able to really orchestrate that workforce across front, middle, and back office, as well as all of the tasks that come through as well. So, we have 6,000 customers globally. It's a complete end-to-end platform, and now with the Cognigy acquisition as well, that's become even more complete, and that's something that we can talk about. It is extremely sophisticated. We don't do general AI and generic AI. It is targeted towards industry and customer service. We don't do anything outside of that, really. So we can be really targeted and focused on solving those problems. Of course, as I mentioned, we have, I think, 11 hubs, from knowledge hub to large language model hubs to virtual agent hubs to agent assist hubs to a whole bunch of different hubs that allow that kind of open architecture within an enterprise ecosystem. And of course, it's scalable, right? As I mentioned, we've re-architected that platform to make it more scalable and secure. ever before. So I just wanted to kind of set that scene and you know, provide that context as to what we see that vision is, kind of what we're already executing on. And maybe for the people who have joined this call that aren't working with NICE, or maybe haven't done their research on NICE recently, hopefully sort of reset some of those expectations about who NICE are. We're not just a call recording company anymore. We haven't been that probably since you know, sort of 2016 when we acquired InContact, which was the last big acquisition that we made of a similar size to Cognigy. So I'll leave it there, Richard, because I'm sure we've got some questions, and you know, we can continue the conversation.
I've certainly got some. Yeah, thanks, Ben. I was thinking, you know, looking at the title of our webinar today, looking at culture, people first, strategies, and how AI can complement people. Have you got some examples or something you might want to be able to talk about that? Because I love something practical. I love something that's sort of seen in real life. But have you got something that you can tell us about with a customer where AI has supported agents particularly well, and what you've seen from there?
Yeah, there are multiple that come to mind, but the ones that are the most impactful is quite simply being able to provide automated notes at the end of a call. Awesome. Accurately, right? And within the platform, you know, not requiring to stream transcripts or calls to a different platform, wait, you know, a couple of hours and then get a summarization back. Actually being able to deliver that accurately and specifically to each agent or each team after every call. This is something that 2 Degrees talks about quite a lot. They were the first customer that we had in the whole APAC region that actually took on auto summary way back in December 2023 is when they kicked it off, and it went live in February 2024. And they've seen some great improvements in things like AHT and their ESAT as well. So, you know, we see a lot of AI projects fail or not even make it to production in the industry. You know, Gartner says that only 20% of AI projects actually make it into production. One of our partners, NTT, they do a global customer service survey every year. They found that only 2 in 200 actually deliver the ROI that was promised from these projects. So, you know, there's a lot of pressure from boards and CEOs to deliver AI projects, but not a lot of practical examples of where it's delivered the value that was promised and where it was actually adopted at scale. And auto summary, post-call summarization using large language models is one of those places that we've seen it, you know, be quite successful, not just for 2 Degrees, but for many of our other customers across Australia and New Zealand.
I agree. I think there's probably 2 or 3 places where that really comes into effect, where AI is really an easy start, and you can see your ROI pretty quickly from it. And yeah, call summarization, wrap up codes disappear, don't they? Really, if you are actually.
We still have a few holdouts on disposition codes, but I think they're going away. On the whole, we're not seeing a lot of customers really sort of implement that too harshly on their agents now. And you know, I think it also talks to what is the point of a summary. It's to summarize what happened on that specific call. It's not meant to capture you know, customer information. It's not meant to capture long, you know, alphanumeric strings or double up on information about addresses or emails or whatever it might be. That's what CRMs are for, and that's what ticketing systems are for. The summary should be really focused on the actual conversation itself. Bash, you got your hand up there, mate.
Yeah, we've got a question actually from Sunil saying, can you share real examples? Well, actually, I'll add the preamble as well. Love to hear all the time when, you know, when you have this information shared, but can you share real examples where AI implementation backfired, whether due to hallucinations, transparency issues, or customer frustration, and how those were corrected?
So I can talk about, so I mean, my experience before NICE was at a digital contact center company called LivePerson. And prior to that, I was at another company called SAS, which was more of an analytics side of things. But here's what I'll say is that we've all experienced a really bad chatbot experience, right? Where we've been stuck in a loop of, sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. Can you rephrase the question? Here's what I can help you with. Or you're asking to, be escalated to an agent, but it only understands when you say human. Sort of those old school, I should say, chatbot experiences are a really great example of where AI has backfired, not just for individual customers, but kind of for a whole industry. Chatbots, when they first launched, seemed like the way that organizations would be able to gain efficiency over and above their human agents, right? If we can have a really great chatbot, then that means we'll need 10%, 15, 20% less humans in our contact center because the AI can do all the work. That hasn't paid off, right? That hasn't been the case. And my position has always been that if you open up a new channel of engagement, other channels of engagement don't immediately drop by the same percentage, right? If you start seeing a 20% increase in digital conversations, you're not going to see a 20% decrease in calls, right? You're going to see more people who want to contact you who maybe otherwise wouldn't or couldn't be bothered. Which then provides you an opportunity to provide better customer service, maybe save somebody, maybe reduce churn, whatever it might be. So I do think that those early phase chatbots really put us back 5 to 7 years of customers and organizations trusting AI to be able to handle conversations. I also think that the consumer market has shifted dramatically now. ChatGPT is the most widely used commercial consumer large language model platform. We're starting to see more specificity to the large language model providers. So OpenAI is really going down that consumer facing, customer facing, maybe a bit too sycophantic, maybe a bit too agreeable at times, but they're resolving that. Anthropic is really, really good with code. Google is being, kind of separating themselves from the pack with video and image generation. So we're starting to see, I think, the market come back to maybe we can start trusting this stuff again. But I think the big failures have come from jumping into the promise of a technology without really considering the use case. We haven't had a lot of those at NICE. We try to be a bit more thoughtful when it comes to deploying technology, particularly AI. My guidance to customers is always test internal and then go to production external. And what I mean by that is start with your internal use cases, start with your auto summary, start with your knowledge AI, start with task automation where you still have that human in the loop. And as you build the confidence and as you build that sort of that ecosystem of agentic or traditional AI, then you can start to think about how you take this to customers. But yeah, I mean, I think they're usually the vectors within which there's failures, is going to market too quickly and not thinking through exactly what you want that customer experience to be.
Yeah, I think there's been a high-profile incident fairly recently in Australia with one of the banks, Sunil, that you could probably have a look at, where they've changed their approach now and gone back to agents, because just like Ben said, I don't think they really, from what I was reading about it, I don't think they've really tested it. And you can test on a small group with these platforms, and somehow or other they managed not to do that, and their project failed, and they've looked at re-employing about 30 agents that they thought they didn't need to have. So it's it does need some care. It does need some care for sure. And building that trust again is going to be a bit of a challenge for some organizations. I think probably their vendor will have learned a lot, and certainly people in the industry are quite careful about it now. So how are we going to do that, Ben? What are we going to, is it going to be all about having proper testing methods and just managing those and seeing how a deployment works?
I think there's time for that. Of course, there's time for the right testing methodologies, DevOps pipelines, CI/CD pipelines, how you take these technology bits, put them together and then make sure they work. That's definitely a really important part of any technology deployment out there. I think the more important part is where we see organizations, where they're agents or internal knowledge workers are scared of AI is
Yeah.
where they're not using it, right? So they haven't started with an internal capability like even just something like Microsoft Copilot to help them summarize emails, or they're using it in their personal life, but they haven't really brought it into the corporate world. We see a lot more reticence and fear from people within organizations about AI coming to take their job.
Absolutely.
Where we've seen organizations that have maybe jumped in a bit faster, they've done the work, they're experimenting, they're bringing their agents and their knowledge workers on that journey. They're far less fearful of AI taking their job. And I think that's because the more you use it, the more you recognize that it's not there yet, right? Even
Yeah, it's not perfect.
even the most advanced models out there still really struggle with simple things that we all can do without thinking, right? Being able to truly connect with someone and provide empathy, in a conversation, and being able to problem solve on the spot and make connections between, pieces of information. That's something that still needs to be designed to a certain extent when you're using large language models or AI more broadly. So the more you get to see that, the more you start with things like summarization or knowledge, which to me, they're the two big time savers before we go towards things like real-time agent assist capabilities. So, we've got our Copilot for agents, other vendors have their version of that. Even before getting there, just giving people better access to knowledge and helping them summarize calls or conversations so that they can focus on the conversation itself, not pausing to take notes. The more that is educated through organizations and people are brought on that journey, the less fear there is, because they see, oh, well, sometimes it gets the summaries wrong, right? If it's getting summaries a little bit wrong, then I'm probably pretty safe for the foreseeable future. It's not going to be able to just take my job. Or even in the world of conversational AI, things like Cognigy, it can bring in information, it can solve problems, it can do tasks, but it still is not able to, create a human connection, right? It's not able to really be a great salesperson just yet. So I think we're still going to require that human connection, and that's a big part of, NICE's Create a Nice World, is that we have the human at the center of that AI strategy, not as a goal to replace, right? It is absolutely, it has to be the combination of the two.
No, I agree. There's a certain amount of honesty in that to say, it's not the be all and end all. It's not the answer to everything, but it is a good leg up. It's a great tool to help you along the way and save a ton of time. And in my use of AI, I use it to summarize meetings that I'm having and take notes and things. And no, it's not perfect, but it might remember a little bit more than I do. But the bits it gets wrong, I can tweak and fiddle with. So as a tool, I've found it really useful. It saved me hours, and I'm sure
we had a customer go live actually last week, a new customer coming on to CX1, and there was some reticence from the agents about AI coming in and affecting their job. And we're talking about auto summary here, and summarization of calls or conversations is a really passive, quite easy way to start using AI. But still, right, they still had that a little bit of fear. Day one of the implementation, so it went live overnight. The next day, we started seeing a screenshot of a conversation that actually said that this is so great because I missed the name of the customer. And this is an outbound sales contact center. I missed the name of the customer, but auto summary picked it up. So then I was able to send a personalized follow-up, which I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise, right? So being able to introduce this to agents and bring them on that journey, and once they start to see, oh, actually, this is really handy, it can flip really quickly from being something I'm afraid of, or to, I don't know how I did my job without this in the past,
That's it's such a simple benefit that people don't expect when they're in a fear mode. I totally understand it. I totally get it. And I think one of the things that summarization brings, and also mid-call analytics brings, is a theme across your contact center, especially with people working at home, which we I mean, I think it was something like 50% of contact centers in that we looked at in the COPC report last week were still very happy with having a mixture of people working in hybrid, home and here. And a contact center manager or team leader will often tell you that they prefer to have the people in the office because they get a buzz, they get a feel and a sense of how that is.
Mm.
And I think the theming and the word mapping that comes with a lot of these solutions is brilliant for actually giving you a feel for what people are talking about and the buzz of the contact center as well.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of hybrid work, I think, is an interesting one, right? We are, or at least I am, hearing from more of our customers that they would like agents to come back in a little bit more, maybe not full time, but where possible to come in, 2 days a week instead of the 1 day a week or whatever that that current schedule is. And I think there's some good reasons for that, right? The ability for us to report on things like soft skills, sentiment, things like active listening and ownership and all those sorts of things, creating word cloud. That's all really great to, I guess, virtually understand what's going on in the contact center. We can use really advanced analytics to find opportunities for automation and task management, all these sorts of things. But as we automate more and as we take away more of those low value, more easy conversations to have, what that's going to leave our agents with is the really hard, more complex conversations, maybe the more emotionally difficult to manage, maybe the more complex to solve. So they will likely take longer. And as much as we can, solve some of those problems with better knowledge management, better access to knowledge, there is also some real magic that can happen when you have people in a room learning from each other, buzzing, maybe you turn some music on in the contact center and you get people in for lunch and you can focus more on the culture and building a really good team environment and less on measuring, every little thing that an agent does to make sure that they're doing, their job correctly.
Now, I have to interrupt here and say this is a webinar about NICE, and it's not about Ben playing his guitar anymore. Okay, that was just the introduction we did at the start. Okay. Oh, Bash, you've got your hand up.
Yes, we have another question here, one from Anne-Marie Morris. What is the customer informed about in respect to privacy data management when A1 is being used?
When AI is being used.
Oh, sorry, A1. I guess it's AI here.
I assume we mean AI here.
Yeah.
So
I'm
we're
gonna
talking.
I'm gonna trademark A1.
It sounds like a good product name.
Yeah. So there's two ways, I guess, to interpret that question, which is as in NICE's customers, as in the organizations we work with, but I think it's directed more towards the end consumer calling a contact center and how to kind of keep them, aligned that they are either speaking with AI or that AI is being used. I get asked this question a lot because I think, when organizations are investigating using something as simple as auto summary, it's like, well, we're using AI. What are you doing with the data? Do we need to tell our customers? Very simply for summarization, most organizations, I'm sure everyone that's attending this call and most people in the network would have something along the lines of, your call may be recorded for quality and training purposes. Please let someone know, right, if you don't want that to happen. That's exactly the type of, we use that transcript, right? We use that call recording transcript in real time to be able to do things like decisioning and summarization and task assistance. So it's kind of covered under that. I think that, explaining more about how that's used is a decision on an organization by organization base, but effectively it is there to ensure quality, compliance, and training, right? That's why those solutions exist, at kind of the most simple level. So I think from an end user perspective, covering it by that statement is more than adequate. I think it depends what you do with that data. If you're then taking that data and making all sorts of assumptions about people's demographics and where they fit in the market and all those sorts of things. That's a different use of the AI, but actually using AI to capture notes and to do transcription and all those sorts of things, I think is more than covered underneath that. Where I do think there's an interesting conversation is around things like conversational AI. And, at the front, I kind of talked about blending the human and AI experience, and, it feels human, even if it is AI. Some organizations try to make their AI pretend like it's a human. So they don't actually sort of right up front say, hey, I'm Teddy, the helper bot, and I'm here to help you today. You kind of might not know that you're speaking to a bot and then speaking to a human. My personal view on that is that we should be telling people, hey, this is actually, you're dealing with an AI here. And the way that we can do that is through many different approaches. We can announce it, hey, I'm Ben, I'm the CCNNZ concierge AI, and I'm here to help you. Things like that. That's where I think we probably should still tell people that they're directly speaking with an AI, and because it gives them the option to be able to go to a human to have maybe a more empathy-driven problem-solving conversation without sort of being, I don't know, gaslit into thinking that they've been speaking to a human the whole time.
I agree with you completely there.
Great question, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a great question. I don't think we should try and pull the wool over people's eyes. Everything
Agreed.
that we've talked about today, as part of our early intro and our early conversation, was about building trust and understanding the customer. And it goes as far as NICE to its customers and the people who are here today, contact center managers, onto theirs, absolutely 100%. And if we're pulling the wool over their eyes or gaslighting them into thinking they're talking to a real person. I've got somebody who's chasing me at the moment for a meeting, and I think they're half using an AI bot to set it up, and then when I cause them trouble, they have a human that steps in. There's just a slight change in the thing. Do I think it's good?
And that happens.
Clever.
That happens a lot. That happens a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with the honesty side of things. Look forward to a couple more questions. But just a little more, Ben, did you want to talk a bit about what Cognigy is going to be bringing to the NICE portfolio and vice versa? I thought that would be a nice thing to round up on, but very welcome for folks to ask some more questions.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Cognigy is a German-based conversational AI platform. It's been around since sort of 2016, 2017. It's raised a good amount of money, has some great clients, so the likes of Mercedes-Benz, Lufthansa, DHL, more locally Qantas, Allianz globally, Adidas, and a few others, right? Toyota. And really the value that they're bringing into the market from a technology perspective is really focused around, I guess, a couple of critical things. First of all, it's a platform that allows organizations to quite easily build bots, right? Whether that's a more traditional NLU focused, process driven bot like we're used to. And there are still reasons that we should go down that path, right? I think lots of people think that we're just leapfrogging technology and that we're forgetting all of the old things that we used to do. Good old-fashioned machine learning is much better for predicting outcomes than large language models are, for instance. Good old-fashioned, NLU-driven, process-based conversational AI is really good for repeatable processes, and large language model or agentic-driven AI is really good for other things. So can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, to use a tired expression. And what Cognigy does really well is it's built a platform that actually allows organizations to straddle both where required. Their whole approach is around providing job descriptions for AI rather than, building, each individual turn of conversation, right? That's what we used to have to do. We used to have to design the conversation start to finish. With Cognigy, we're able to guide, coach, give outcomes, give job descriptions, give guardrails, and really easily, I'm going through the technical training for this right now as they come on board, quite easily build bots just by giving a couple of sentences of instructions and then testing it and then providing more guidance. So it's kind of more like training a new starter in your business than it is like building a technology or an AI bot, right? It's quite a strange way to approach it. It's not something that I think many organizations are set up to do yet, because the assumption is if you're able to train and coach AI using, you know, guidance and prompting, that means that you have to have a really good understanding of what outcomes you want to have to the bot achieve, and what process steps that maybe it needs to take, and what the limiting guardrails are in order to achieve that. So, you know, I do think that the unique position that Cognigy has is that it's quite an easy to use platform. You can get deep, you can be very specific, you can go into the code and you know, write it all yourself, but you don't have to. So that, you know, their roadmap as far as humanizing AI, you know, really bringing in the best of agentic, conversational, NLU driven, process driven AI, bringing it all into one and blending that together, really aligns with our approach, right? So at NICE, you know, we're not throwing out all of the good work that was done by product, right? You know, we have some very specific machine learning models and AI driven models within the platform. We're not throwing all of those out just because large language models are here. We're building on top of that. We're not, you know, we're not providing general AI over the top of a contact center platform, because that actually doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't bring business value. And Cognigy's approach is quite similar to that. So blending those two things together is going to be really important for us. We have existing OEM relationships for our autopilot product with Amelia and Omelia. They will absolutely continue. For anybody that is aware of those, that they will continue doing what they're doing. But having Cognigy coming as an acquisition allows us to really own the roadmap, right? We can make decisions on where we invest, where we don't invest, how we integrate that into the stack. And what it truly gives us is that end-to-end solution, right? It gives us the right up front from intent all the way through to fulfillment, and actually actioning what's discussed. And that really, to summarize all of it, is an intent to a fulfillment on a single platform without having to integrate with anything else. You know, that's really the power of it. Yeah.
That's pretty marvelous. And that takes me back to a point that we brought up earlier on, where you were saying that this platform does not necessarily, it's not part of a traditional CCaaS, as it was. Can I say traditional about CCaaS? Yes, I know it's been 5 years or so, but maybe longer. But Cognigy works on top of other platforms, doesn't it? And certain parts of the other the NICE portfolio will work. The call recording side of things and analytics has worked on other platforms for many years, hasn't it? So
yeah, I mean, it's a really good point. You know, NICE, yeah, what makes the platform a contact center platform is the fact that it has an ACD in the middle of it, an automatic call distribution function within the middle of it. You remove that, right? It doesn't stop being a customer service platform. It just doesn't route your calls anymore. We're getting to the point now where routing calls is something that all platforms should be able to do. And so really, when NICE is heading into the future, and we've already started along this path with our post-call, so post-call recording, analytics and quality management. From a CX1 perspective, we can connect that to any other ACD. We've been able to do this with things like Nexidia and IEX and Quality Central at the top end of town, sort of in the sort of 1,000 seats and above space. But you know, in the smaller contact centers who really want to leverage the power of NICE and look at other options outside of their current ACD, we're actually able to surround an existing ACD with all of our quality analytics, recording. The end of this year and early next year, we'll also be able to bring our real-time agent assist capability, Copilot for agents. We'll actually be able to plug that into, for instance, a Genesis ACD or an Avaya ACD, and they can use the NICE Copilot for agents, real-time agent assist. That's something that, you know, I don't think any of the other CCaaS providers can do. And so that's really what we consider ourselves to be, an AI platform for customer service. We're not really talking about ourselves as a CCaaS company anymore. And with Cognigy, that acquisition allows us to, that is so aligned with that approach, right? We were already on this approach, bringing Cognigy in really is aligned to that approach as well. You know, Cognigy has had relationships with all of the other contact center platforms out there. Now they're part of the AI-powered platform for customer service. We can still integrate with any other platform. So from a nice company perspective, it really opens up who we can work with. We can respect investments in contracts, and we can respect investments in other platforms. We don't have to ask customers to rip everything out. But it may be also a stepping stone to eventually moving on to CX1 and making that transition much easier as well. So yeah, it's much more flexible doing it this way.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. Okay, folks. Well, thank you. And yeah, thanks for all the questions. Ben, appreciate your time. Yeah, really good, really insightful, and quite a clever move on NICE's behalf to change their approach. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Bash,
No
for
problem.
looking after the questions.
Stay tuned. I'm sure we will hear more about the Cognigy acquisition and that being all finalized and approved, hopefully towards the end of this month. And if there's anybody on this call that wants to have a conversation about that, once that's all gone through, we absolutely can. But yeah, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Bashar, and thank you to CCNN, Ted, for having me today.
Wonderful.
Thank you,
Thanks
everyone.
very much. All right, folks, we'll wrap it up at that. Thank you.
Thanks.